Hi all, I'm Libby, proud captain of Millwall Lionesses. Thank you to our Millwall fan show from the No One Likes Us Talking team for sponsoring me this year. Make sure you give them a listen like I do. Or even better, why not sponsor a Lioness while you're at it like they do? Thank you always for your continued support.
This podcast is a proud member of the Fan Hub 100. Football without fans is nothing, so we've partnered with Fan Hub to put fans first. Search Fan Hub app to play your part in the journey.
Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
It's the first Friday of the three-tier new system that's come into force for COVID-19. And we must remember our poor friends in Kent who are in the top tier. But for the rest of us, we're in tier 2. And many of us will be back at the Den this Saturday as part of the 2,000 lucky fans. And I've got the No One Likes Us Talking team of Patricia Maslin, Gary Staff and Ted Robinson with me.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Hi Pat, how's it going? Excited for Saturday?
I'm absolutely on the edge of my seat already. I'm really looking forward to this.
It's good to
hear. It's like the start of a new season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to hear that you're on the edge. But what about our last couple of games? A little bit of summary from your view?
Well, before that, can I just give a shout out to Thomas and all the Norwegian fans of ours? Velkommen. There you go.
Welcome.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah. All right, Thomas. Right. Good to hear from you, Thomas. Hope you're watching tonight and all the Norwegian fans. Right, come on, tell us about these last two games.
He's halfway up a mountain, probably.
No, he's down in the field. Come on, Ted.
Right, Birmingham. I think the fans were expecting a bit more than what was actually going on. If anyone who remained awake during that 90 minutes, they'd probably just see us edging the first half an hour. Apart from that, I thought it was dire. I'm sorry, it was boring. It was bad. 65% accuracy pass rate. There was no passion. I just glazed over that game completely.
So, Ewood Park then. Come on, Pat.
Decent game. Obviously a shame we lost. Marlon's back. I think we really missed him. John Daddy had an okay game. I'm still not convinced he's a championship player. We should have drawn the game. Obviously, we had the penalty shout out. We was unlucky, but I enjoyed the game overall.
Good. How about you, Gary?
Like Pat, I managed to stay awake on the Birmingham game, but it was boring. But if you look, and if it wasn't for the results before us, if we'd have, say, won the previous game, a 0-0 draw up at Birmingham, we'd have all said that's a brilliant result. But because we had 4 draws up to that point, we were seen as another negative. On to Blackburn, really frustrating. I thought, like Pat said, we do realise how much we miss Romeo. Massive player for us. But I just thought there's too many players not doing it. We were discussing it last night. John Daddy, I thought he had one of his better games last night, like Pat said, but in and out. Why is Parrott playing so deep? And why is he on the left, if you know what I mean? Bring him in the middle, put John Daddy out on the left. He's a striker. Let him run onto players. Woods, I think he's been found out. I didn't even think Bart was at his game last night, but I didn't realise at the time Adam Armstrong's second goal took a massive deflection. That's the luck you're getting when you're in form. We don't get that. I was saying to Eamon before we started. I think it was Hutchinson had a shot from the edge of the box and went straight into someone's midriff. And don't even get me started on the 3/4 penalties we should have had last night, and the referee living 5 minutes down the road in Lancashire.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's up in the northeast. You never know what happens up there, do you, Ted?
Well, and neither do we want to know, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't think he lived 5 minutes away. I think he actually camped out in a changing room of Blackburn's, to be quite honest. The referee, he was atrocious. He was atrocious last night. There was an incident in the first half as well where Marlon turned on the edge of the box and the bloke just clattered into him, whether it was meant or not. It was at least obstruction, if nothing else, which was very close to the penalty area, but I don't think it was a penalty. But we got nothing there. You know, the guy was one of the worst referees I think what I've seen for a long while. You know, and the handballs were playing. But look, I mean, I'll gloss over the Birmingham one because, like Pat and Gary quite rightly said, there's not a lot to talk about, to be quite honest. All I will say is I think Birmingham, to be quite honest, are the sort of side that would drag any team down. I think, you know, sometimes you get... you struggle to get going against sides because of the way that the opposition's playing or set up to you, or the way that their style is. And Birmingham are just one of them sides to me. If you look at all their games, there's not many goals in it, and they're normally all pretty dire, so we can forget about that one. But I thought last night against Blackburn, against one of, I think, the best attacks in this division, I think Alan Armstrong is a Premier League player, in my opinion. If Blackburn don't go up this year, I'll be amazed if nobody comes in for him. But attacking wise, they're a very good side, Blackburn, and I thought we more than matched them, to be quite honest. I thought we played some decent football. I thought we was getting back to somewhere like, not exactly like it, but we was playing football like we did when we played Forest that time, if you remember rightly. We beat them 3-0. We wasn't as quite potent as that up front, but coming back to what Gary said about their winning goal, fun enough, come off of Woods, a deflection off of Woods after he gave the ball away and whatever. But then things happen like John Daddy Bodvarson's shot. How many goals have I seen this weekend that have gone underneath a goalkeeper? He's won it, and it's the keeper, you know, and comes out. That's the way that game was. I mean, I don't like to put it all down to bits of luck here and there, and that, but when you look at that game last night, they definitely had things go their way, and we didn't have anything go our way. And that's the difference in this division, because there's not a lot of difference between most of the sides in this championship. Even, you know, Norwich last night losing to Luton. And Luton are a bit of a surprise package, but Norwich are struggling because they've got a lot of injuries. And you can't lose sight of the fact that we've got quite a few injuries that would make a difference to us. Yeah. But I thought last night we was getting back onto the road of you know, playing a sort of football that I know that we're capable of. And one thing I will agree on wholeheartedly with Pat and Gary. There you go, Pat. You didn't think you'd hear me say that tonight.
No, I never thought I'd hear that.
But Marlon makes such a difference. You know, you look at Scalek, did nothing wrong against Birmingham defensive-wise, but he doesn't give you that thrust going forward. That Marlon and Jeb Wallace have built a partnership up over the last few years. It is one of the best attacking partnerships in the Championship, and they give us a lot. I just wish their final ball would be better. If we could get a final ball out of the pair of them, you know, we would be creating more chances without a doubt. But a far better performance last night, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I just must apologise to our friends in the North East. In fact, Lancashire is in the North West, and that's no offence to you. But there's one
It's
player...
North, Eamon. It's North.
Well, it's that way. But there's one point that I must draw out, and you missed it at Birmingham. I'd like to say that attempt on goal by Murray Wallace was almost world class.
Oh,
And I
but
think
then it was our only shot all game.
Well, it was,
on
but
target.
whether it was or it wasn't.
If you're truth be known, Eamon, if you speak to Murray, he says he slipped.
Yeah, more than likely. But there you go. Anyhow, it started to look better, and that can't be a bad thing. So we're going to have a little break now, and we're going to listen to Bethany Warren talking about Love Sport Radio.
Bethany Warren here again. Thanks for listening to our show. Don't forget, Love Sport Radio is now mothballed pending change in current conditions. You can still listen, though, to music both online and on DAB. Podcasts are available on demand. Hopefully, we'll be back on the air with them when normality returns to the marketplace.
I'm Eamon, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us team of Patricia Maslin, Gary Staff and Ted Robinson. Don't forget, you won't find any of our current shows at Love Sport Radio. In fact, only pre-pandemic recordings. Find us on Spreaker. Millwall No One Likes Us Talking, until further notice. Tonight we bring a former player who now resides in New Zealand. Warmer there than here at the moment, I suspect. Often described as an old-fashioned winger, he spent most of his career playing either as a right winger or a right midfielder. Born in Brighton in Sussex, he started with Watford as a youth player. When a professional contract was not forthcoming, he moved to non-league Saltdean United, not far from his hometown of Brighton, and the team his father played for. From there, he was spotted by former Millwall great and had a trial at West Ham initially, but was signed by Millwall. He spent nearly 7 years at the Den, making 217 starts, a further 44 from the bench, and scored 43 goals before departing to Sheffield United in 2005 for an £800,000 plus transfer deal. 2 seasons later, he joined that team from some place called Croydon. Oh, that's it. Crystal Palace, that's it, where he spent a further 2 seasons. Next stop was New Zealand, where he played for Wellington Phoenix. I nearly said Phoenix there, but it is Wellington Phoenix, in the A-League from 2009 to 2014. After that, he is credited as playing for a number of lesser-known clubs out there, and finally hung up his boots last year at Hawke's Bay United, after more than 600 playing appearances in his career. He was also a Barbadian international, for whom he played 10 times and scored 6 goals. In 2015, he took a player coach role at Wairarapa United in the Men's Central League. He ran coaching, playing alongside his 2 Paul Ifield football academies situated through Wairarapa region, which is also quite famous for the wine, I believe, offering full and part-time opportunities for 8 to 18-year-olds. They are located in a place called Masterson and at Rathkill College. Tonight, we're very proud to bring to the virtual studio that man from the other side of the world, Paul Ifield. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction.
Well, I'm glad it sort of. What is the wine like out in Wairarapa?
It's good. It's good. I don't drink wine. My wife loves it, so she says it's brilliant. So I'll trust her judgment on that one.
Well, that ain't too bad at all. Paul, before I let you off to the panel, tell me about how you arrived at the Den, well, with the help of former Lion Dennis Burnett and Jeff Burnage, who is often on this show. He's one of the team, and he asked me to say hello to you.
Oh, good people, really good people. Yeah, hello back. Probably after I got released from Watford, I went back to play for Saltdean. At the time, didn't know anything about Dennis Burnett, to be quite honest. But when I arrived there, he quickly took me under his wing, myself and another guy called Carl Southwell. Basically said to both of us that he felt that we could play at a higher level, and that he'd do everything he could to help us with that. So we did a lot of sort of one-on-one training with him. We do a lot of sessions with him, working on specific parts of our game. And he said if we did well enough in the first team, because we were only, I think, 15, 16 then, when we got into the first team, if we did well enough, he'd get us trials. And he was true to his word. I went to West Ham, had 2 fantastic trials there, scored 4 goals in 2 games. And they said to me at the end of the second trial that I was no better than what they had.
Oh dear.
Which, when you look at the team sheet, they were right. To be honest, there was there was Joe Cole. I think there was Frank Lampard. There was Rio Ferdinand. It was a who's who.
You was destined for better things, Paul.
Exactly.
You was destined for better things, mate.
There you go. Somebody knew better. So yeah, it was. I was pretty gutted at that trial. I have to say, like I said, I did really well. I was really pleased, and then went back to Saltdean again and just carried on working really to see where we could get to. And thankfully, things went well in the first team at Saltdean, and a few clubs were watching. Newcastle, Portsmouth, and Millwall were watching. And I would be told when the clubs were coming to watch the games, and this one night we were playing, it was a game against a team called Oakwood for Saltdean, and I knew that Millwall were coming to watch me. And it would have been Bob Pearson at the time, I think, and Jeff Burnage. And the bloody manager put me on the bench. And I'd played every single game that season. And this one night he puts me on the bench and I was absolutely devastated. So whilst they were doing the team talk, I was outside messing about, really, in the goal. One of my mates went in goal. One of my mates was crossing the ball in. And I was just hitting shots, really, from the edge of the box, hitting volleys. And I was so annoyed that I was on the bench. I was just taking my frustration. Everything I hit went in the goal. It was ridiculous. Like, I've never finished like that in my life. And little did I know that Bob and Jeff were actually sat in the car adjacent to where we were doing this, watching. So I found this out later on, and let's sort of explain how. So I was contacted by Portsmouth to go on trial there. Went down on trial, and back in the day where there was no mobile phones, we get to the ground. There's no one there, so I go and find the groundsman and said, "What's going on? I'm here for a trial." He said, "Oh, the game's been called off. The pitch is waterlogged." So that was my first trial at Portsmouth done. I then get a phone call from Millwall. They want me to come on trial, and so to Newcastle. Now I always supported Newcastle as a kid, and that was my last trial of the three. So I went to Millwall second, and the chairman of Saltdean actually drove me up, and I remember not really knowing what nutrition was back then. He asked me what I wanted for something to eat before the game, and I had a Coke and a pie.
That's a Newcastle thing. Newcastle thing. That
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So turned up at the ground, not knowing really what to expect. I assumed I was playing in a under 17 game, and I was playing a reserve game at the Den. And we were actually playing Crystal Palace, and that back in those days you have a A4 team sheet come out. So I'm looking at the Crystal Palace team sheet to see who I'm playing against, and Bruce Dyer's on the other side. He'd just been sold for £1 million, the first £1 million teenager. And there's me at 16, and I've just had a pie and a Coke for my pre-match. So I was miles out of my depth, and ended up playing 90 minutes for the reserve team. Decent reserve team we had that day. It was a really good game. I was awful. Every time I got the ball, I promptly gave it away. I was falling over. I was not strong enough. I didn't feel quick enough. It was horrible. And then, with about a minute to go, their centre back Saji Burton, I'll always remember it, played a back pass to his goalkeeper, and as he played it, he slipped, and I was through on goal, and it was my moment. I thought, this is it, I'm going to score here, and everything's going to go well. You run through from the halfway line, you've got 1,000 things going through your mind, and I must have changed my mind about 10 times. But then as I got there, I thought, right, I'm just going to hit this as hard as I can. And just as I went to hit it, it took a bobble, completely missed the ball, fell over. I had grass in me flipping face, I had dirt in my teeth. I wanted the ground to swallow me up, and whistle goes, come off the pitch, and go up to the players' lounge afterwards, and my dad's up there, and he's not a sort of cuddly guy, but he gives me a hug, and it was one of those hugs to sort of say, well, you've blown this opportunity. And I saw Jeff and Bob, and they came and asked me how I thought I did, and I said, I was just miles out of my depth, to be honest. I don't think I'm ready for this level. And they said, we'd like to offer you a YTS contract. And I said, pardon, are you sure? And they said, yeah, we saw you that night at Oakwood, and we knew that you had what it takes. We knew that you've got decent technique. We just wanted to put you into something that was out of your comfort zone and see how you reacted to it. And they said, you gave the ball away a lot today, but every time you gave it away, you tried to get it back. You got knocked off the ball a lot, but every time you got knocked off the ball, you tried to win it back. And they said, if you're going to work hard for us, we can basically coach you the rest, and we believe we can turn you into a professional. Wow. And that was it. I promptly signed, because we went home that night to talk it through, and I wanted to go on trial at Newcastle, I'm not going to lie, because it was the club I'd supported. And basically my parents talked me out of it and said, look, you've got something in hand here, and you'd be taking a big gamble going somewhere on trial and maybe not having the opportunity to sign for Millwall. And at the time, obviously, Millwall were lower down in the leagues than Newcastle, and they felt that my chances there of coming through would be better, given the club's history of bringing players through. So that was it. I signed and didn't really look back.
They said you was destined for better things.
What a story.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Paul.
Yeah, go on. Hi, Paul. It's Pat.
Hi, Pat.
I've got a question here about your first start for the Lions. It actually says Man City, but Lincoln was your actual debut, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Lincoln was.
Yeah, you didn't get off the bench at Man City, did you?
No, I didn't. I remember going and I remember being quite pleased not to get off the bench. There was 30-odd thousand there and they were throwing coins at me as I was warming up and calling me all sorts, and I was thinking, oh, I'm not ready for this.
So how did it go? What's your memories of Lincoln actually being on the team sheet, the first 11? Yeah,
I remember, obviously Lincoln's a long way, so you go up on the coach and I was pretending that I wasn't nervous, and as a young pro, you're on your first trip, you're doing all the coffees and teas, and I remember walking down to the back of the bus to deliver the teas to the senior players, and I was shaking. I was so nervous about the game, and once the game started I was okay, but I was playing on the right wing and I'd always been a centre forward in the youth team, so I was playing in a position that I didn't really understand too much of what I was doing. You know, we'd worked on it that week for a couple of sessions, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew I had to get up and down and defend a bit and attack a bit, and I remember I actually hit the post in the game and we lost 2-0. And a guy called Gavin Gordon, I think, scored both the goals. And I remember coming off the pitch thinking, oh, I've got such a long way to go. Like, you know, I thought Gavin Gordon was a superstar. And I remember thinking, you know, am I ever going to be good enough to play at this level? And I think I was in the squad for the next few games, but I didn't get a start again for ages. And I kind of thought that I'd maybe miss my opportunity, and thankfully Rhino and Macca gave me another chance later on in the season, and then I kept my spot in the team, obviously, all the way through to the end of that season.
Excellent.
Cool. Hi, Paul. It's Gary. How you doing, mate?
Hi, Gary. Good, thank you.
Good. So, your first goal, Preston, in the 90th minute. I bet that was a fantastic moment for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a long time coming. I think it was 15 games I'd played and I hadn't scored, and I was feeling a bit of pressure, to be honest. I think playing in the youth team and the reserve team and scoring quite a few goals, I was expected to be scoring goals. But I was playing on the right midfield, like you said, or right wing, and I was finding myself in a lot of different positions to what I was used to. I was used to being in the thick of things, really, sort of down the middle of the pitch, and all of a sudden I was having to come in on my left foot, which wasn't great at the time, and trying to get crosses in rather than getting my shots off. And Macca and Rhino had noticed this and done a lot of work with me after training, you know, around finishing really. Done a bit of work with the senior pros at the time, the likes of Paul Shaw and Kim Grant and those guys, and just trying to learn to side foot the ball. And in that particular game, with time running out, they were going for automatic promotion, I think. And Richard Sadler had made his way down the left-hand side of the pitch and cut one back to the edge of the box, and I sort of came in off the right wing. And as it came back to me, I thought, I'm just going to side foot this rather than whack it, because I used to whack everything. And as soon as it left my foot with a side foot, it sort of curled around the defender, and I knew it was going in, and I was already off and running. And although the game meant nothing to anybody, that particular moment meant a hell of a lot to me. And that was probably when I realised that I was up to the level. You know, I felt like I was going to go on and have a career, and I felt that, you know, hopefully next season that would lead to me potentially keeping my spot and going on from there.
Was that season the same season we got to Wembley, or was that the next season?
Yeah. No, it was that season, the LDV van.
It was that season.
So I'd come in, I was in and out of the team, and then kind of managed to cement my spot going towards the final. Had a decent game against Walsall in the two-legged. Yeah,
it was Walsall. It was a golden goal as well, that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went into extra time. It was a bit nervy. We've been the better team during the time, both legs in my opinion, but did well, and obviously off to the final. And I think as a 19-year-old kid, that all went by a little bit too quickly, and the Wembley appearance came a little bit too easily, if you know what I mean. All of a sudden you're there, you're at Wembley, and it feels like you're always going to be at Wembley. You know, this is what happens every year.
Not for us Oldens, it wasn't.
No, well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me either. So I never played there again.
Oh.
We gave you that one opportunity.
Yeah.
Hi, Paul. It's Ted here.
Hi, Ted.
We've met before. I think it was somewhere near the centre circle at Walsall, because I must admit, at the end of that game, it's the only time I've ever been on a football field. I lost it a little bit. My dream was being my team at Wembley. But
yeah.
I apologise if I slapped you on the back too hard. It wasn't.
No,
There's
all right.
a couple of things I wanted to say to you, though. But I remember seeing you score a hat-trick. I believe it was at Cambridge. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think
right, yeah.
It was Cambridge, and what an
yeah.
Was it the left, right foot, and you didn't get a header though, did you?
No, I didn't get many headers.
I know you scored a cracker, didn't you? You scored a cracker.
Yeah, no, it was two left foot two left foot, one right foot.
One right, yeah.
The first one was a right-footed volley. It's funny because I talk about this now when people ask about the hat trick, and I didn't play very well that night. 3 amazing finishes, but Reedy was unbelievable that night. I think Reedy set up all 3 of mine, and he was unplayable on the left-hand side. Yeah. He got a cross in for the first one, and it was a right-footed volley from the edge of the box. The second one, he got another cross in from the left-hand side, and I hit sort of a left-foot half volley across the keeper. And the third one, he gave me the ball just as I was sort of coming over halfway, and I was wondering what to do, and he just shouted, shoot. And I was miles out on my left foot, and I thought, I've scored 2, why not? And I aced it, and as soon as it left my foot, I knew it was in. The keeper dived, and it was straight in the top corner. And I was off and running.
I've never told anyone this, but my mate will back me. I actually shouted, and I apologise this. I was, get him off me shit. Excuse my language. And the next thing you done that, and I thought, well, I'm not saying that again. And so thanks for, I got a lot of stick off my mate for that, but. Yeah, it was. But it was, as you say, one of them games where it seemed like wherever you was, Paul, if you had a dig, it went in. Yeah,
it was. It was like you were actually right in what you were saying. I wasn't playing very well. I was giving the ball away a lot, but for whatever reason, everything I hit was going in that night. So it was nice to get my first and only club hat trick.
But the one thing I wanted to ask, Paul, because I've been waiting for this for quite a while, because. Do you ever think to yourself, I've allowed Tim Cahill to take all the glory of getting Millwall to the FA Cup final? Because you cut inside and deserve to score. You deserve to score.
I'm going to be honest here. Yes, all the time. It pisses me off. I love Timmy. We're good mates. He was always the guy in the right place at the right time. That's no disrespect to him. I mean, that's something that you've got or you haven't. And his timing was immaculate. All throughout his career, he had that. It's the right run at the right time, and he was sweeping up where he needed to be. And if it was probably anybody else, they wouldn't have tucked it away. But I watched the game back, and I think I did so well to nick it. I've cut inside with a nice little chop. I've just got to side foot it in the corner. And I think I got a bit excited and thought I've got to score, so I hit it a bit too hard. Where if I just passed it in, I'm the one running off with that iconic photo, and Timmy's the one chasing me. But it is what it is, and he did well, and he went on to do some amazing things in the game. So I don't begrudge him that, and I'm glad he tucked it away, because at the end of the day, I didn't do what I should have done.
Was there a split second in your mind you thought, blown it?
Straight away. Straight away. As soon as it hit his chest, I thought, how have I missed that? Could be it. And then as I turned my head, I saw Timmy running onto it, and I'm just thinking, please hit the target, please hit the target. And then obviously he catches it very nicely. I think it takes a little nick off their defender as it goes, but it was always going in anyway. And that was it. Off we ran. And the funny thing was, as he was off and running, because obviously he runs past the crowd and he's waving his top round, that amazing photo. I ran after him and I pulled my groin in the flipping celebration, and I'm thinking, shit, I can't come off now, so I'm gonna have to try and give it a couple of minutes and at least pretend I'm okay, because that's pretty embarrassing. So 2 minutes later, I'm being bloody stretchered off in the semi-final.
Well, I've got to tell you, I think I pulled something as well, but it wasn't when that goal went in. But dear. That was the other thing I was saying. I was down the end and I could see the clock down the other end there. That never moved. I'll tell you now.
It was horrible.
It was like I was caught in a time warp.
That's the longest game of football. It was ridiculous, because I'm there now, back with the boys on the bench on crutches. And I remember I couldn't hold the crutch. My hands were so sweaty, I kept slipping off my crutches, because it just seemed to go on forever. And we didn't seem to have a chance in the second half. It was literally all them. We couldn't get out of our half, and I'm just thinking, sooner or later they're going to nick a goal. And if they'd have nicked one, they'd have gone and got 2 or 3. We were out on our feet. We'd given everything. But the minute the whistle went, the relief. It was unbelievable. What a feeling.
Wasn't it Sweeney who come on for you in that half?
Oh, blimey, I can't even remember. I would imagine it would have been. Thinking back, I can't think.
I think it was.
Who else it could have been.
Which I thought at the time was a bit of a strange, but I thought you played well and was more solid. But it was when you and Muscat got taken off. That's when I think the whole game swung to them, because if you watch that game back, for the first 35 minutes, up until you and Muscat go off, you go off and then Muscat second half, we were by far the better team. And then
I agree with that. I didn't feel, although I felt later on that it was difficult. Certainly up to the point that we scored. I thought we were the only team that looked like we were going to score. But they had some good players in that team. They were a decent side. It was a tough game.
Yep. You've played in some really big games for us. I mean, FA Cup final, promotion games and that. What's been your favourite and most memorable to you? Would it be the FA Cup final?
I think the semi. I think the semi-final, because I think just getting there was the thing. We knew we'd seen the draw for the other semi-final, and it was Arsenal Man.
Yeah, that's right.
So we weren't stupid. You go there trying to win it. Don't get me wrong, and we certainly prepared as best as we could. But it was more a plan to get to half time in that final without being embarrassed, and then have a right go in the second half. It didn't kind of work out like that because somebody didn't pick up Cristiano Ronaldo just before half time. That was me, by the way.
We've always blamed Robbie Ryan.
Yeah. He had a tough day, but we had a tough day, but
he was still trying to tackle him.
No, he was brilliant on that day. But look, I think the semi, because that was the realisation that you're going to play in what is a game that's going to be seen worldwide. It's something that over here now in New Zealand, people talk to me about that every other day. It's something. Wow. If you meet somebody for the first time, that's the first question they want to ask you. What was it like playing in the FA Cup final? You played against Van Nistelrooy, Giggs, Keane. It was a who's who that day. So we were so lucky to have been able to do that. And my kids now are 14 and 9 and never really been involved in football. Suddenly they've taken it up this last year, and now they want to go back and watch the game. And I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through, actually. So it'd be pretty cool to go back and watch that with them.
Well, I've got to tell you, Paul, you played like you've been out with us the night before, No, in actual fact, we was quite good for the first 30 minutes or so. I thought, we played quite well up until Cristiano, whatever his name is, done that. And then, we was always going to struggle. If we could have nicked a goal and got ourselves in front, then maybe it might have been a different story. But unfortunately, we had the injuries, didn't we, that... robbed us of Kevin Muscat, and Danny Dichio was suspended. That made it really difficult, because I thought we was a good side in that season, and I think with our real first team out there, everybody fit and firing, we could have had a go at Man United a little bit more than we did.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that season in particular, we worked very well with Danny Dichio up top. I think he made a big difference to us. As a focal point, he was a real battler. He got the sort of Millwall way of playing at the time, and obviously for him to be sent off leading into that was devastating. Obviously Muskie was a real leader on the pitch as well, so it did make it hard. I mean, they were obviously around in the build up, but it was different going into that, knowing that you didn't have them to. It would have been very interesting to see Muskie and Ronaldo, if Ronaldo had come over to Muskie's side, that's for sure.
He made sure he stayed with Robbie Ryan, I think. You must have had, we're having Muskie behind you, Paul. You must have been a bit wary about getting too close to him in case he kicked you and all.
Yeah, no, but it was funny. He was crazy on the pitch, but honestly, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet off it, and did so much for us young players. And I always felt with him on the team, we always had a chance. It didn't matter who you played. We always had a chance, and he'd go down fighting no matter what. And I think that was kind of infectious. And again, especially for us younger boys sort of learning the game, I think it was really valuable to have somebody like that, and obviously Dennis as well.
I think in some ways as well, though, Paul, the sort of feeling about Muscat that was put out took away from the fact that he was a very good player.
He was excellent, technically unbelievable player, very, very good. But again, I've said that on many different interviews. I think people didn't understand how good he was because they could only see one side of his game. And I think he'll be remembered as a thug rather than a very good footballer that could mix it as actually
I don't suppose he talks to you now, does he? Because he's Australian and you're out in New Zealand.
No, we get on. He actually tried to sign me. When I turned up in the league over here. He said, "Why didn't you call me?" I said, "Well, I didn't know you wanted me." So he said, "Oh, you should have called me. I'd have signed it." Then he tried to sign me the following season, but I was happy where I was, so I didn't go. But we still catch up, and he's actually just lost his job in Belgium, so he's heading back over to Australia at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Talking about that, Paul, Gary again. How did you get to go to New Zealand after the Palace?
I'd
Just to get away from Palace.
Yeah, go anywhere. Yeah, go as far away as possible. No, look, I'd had a really tough time at Palace in terms of the injuries, and I'd not really played very well. I was always getting injured or coming back from injury. I think I only played 60 games for Palace in 2.5 years, and I think if you look at my career before and after, it was probably nearly double that in that same period. So it was a difficult time for me. I felt that my body was sort of giving up. I was 29. I thought I need a league that plays less games. And I was trying to get to the MLS. It was proving pretty difficult. Didn't really have any contacts there. And I was in the gym at Palace one day with a guy called Nick Carl, who was also at Palace, and Aussie boy. And he said, "Would you fancy going to the A-League?" And I said, "Yeah, well, why not? What can you do?" He said, "I've got an agent who'll probably be able to fix you up a deal." So they got me a deal with a club called the Central Coast Mariners, which is about an hour from Sydney. Beautiful place, palm trees around the pitch. And he showed me what was going on, and I agreed a deal. And the day that it was going through, I'd already said goodbye to my family, had a party and everything. The agent rang me and said, "Look, the deal's off." I said, "What do you mean the deal's off?" He said, Central Coast Mariners are part owned by Sheffield United, and one of the directors at Sheffield United has spoken to the directors at Central Coast and advised them not to sign you. Said that you're injury prone, and I was like, okay, fine. So that was the deal done, and I went back to training, and I actually went back into Millwall. I was training at Millwall for a little while. This is when Kenny was there, and I'd spoken to Neil Harris actually, and he said, "Come down and train with the boys." And Kenny Jackett was the coach, and I had no thought of signing, if I'm honest. I didn't really want to step down at the time. Millwall in League One, I'd been in the Championship. I thought I still was a Championship player, and it was just a case of training, really. I had the first training session, and it was one of the best sessions I've had probably ever. And Kenny pulled me in the office after and said, "Well, I want to sign you," and I was like, okay. And we never spoke money or anything else. It was as simple as that. And I went in the next day, trained again, trained well. And Chopper pulled me aside and said, Kenny says he wants to sign you. I said, well, yeah, that's what he told me yesterday. He said, would you be keen? I said, yeah. He said he thinks you're going to be too expensive. I said, look, I wouldn't speak to any other League One club, but I said, if I can come back here, I'd come back, and I'm happy to, take a hit if need be. I still lived, just in Beckenham, so it would have been really straightforward for me. I knew a lot of the players. It felt like being home, so I was keen. And by the third day, I'd been speaking to the Wellington Phoenix, and I'd been speaking to Brighton, which is where I was born, and they were interested. And I assumed that third day I was going in to speak to Kenny, about a deal. And then training, I think, was it before training or after? I can't remember. Anyway, Kenny took me up in the office again and said, look, I just think you're going to be too expensive for us. And I said, well, we haven't even spoken money here. Like, how do you know? You don't know what I'm after. You don't know if I've got any money in the bank or I haven't got any money in the bank. I don't know where this is coming from. And that was it. I went downstairs and said to Chopper, I said, he doesn't want to sign me. He said, I'm going to be too expensive. So Chopper and I think it was Boulder. Was it Adam Boulder? Did you have them?
Adam Boulder, yeah.
Adam Boulder, yeah. They were fuming. So they went up to see Kenny and said, what's going on? And Kenny said the same thing to them. And I remember walking out the training ground thinking that was such an odd experience. Then I about a week later, I had a phone call from Toby Porter at the South London Press. Yeah. And he said, I've been speaking to Kenny Jackett, and he tells me that you priced yourself out of a move to the Millwall. And I'm like, I said, we didn't speak about a penny. I said, I think he's just covering his back. Maybe he didn't want me, didn't fancy me, I don't know. But honestly, it was a really, really weird exchange, how I'd gone just to train. Then he wanted to sign me. Then he decided I was too expensive when we never spoke about anything. So that was how it was left, and I was pretty gutted, to be honest. I went down to Brighton from there, and I was training with them. Didn't like that at all. And then the move to the Phoenix sort of came up through this agent again, and I thought, let's just go. I'll go for a year. If I don't like it, I can come back. If it's a decent league, I'll look to move on to Australia at some point from there and see how it goes. And I'm still here 11 years later.
The rest is history.
Excellent.
Indeed.
As for now, Paul, though, broadcaster, writer and football commentator Jason Pine stated on Twitter that he's honoured to be asked to write your legendary autobiography.
Yes.
It's an extraordinary story. I still can't believe some of it. out in 2021. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Teammate Richard Sadley had one. Do you think you'll be as good as his?
I thought his was sensational. I thought it was pretty dark. And there was a lot of stuff that went on. I lived with Sads for a long time during.
Oh, so you don't have to say any more. Don't have to say any more.
No, but
read the book.
So now you know. But I was surprised at what he went through. Honestly, he covered so much of that up that I had no idea. I had no idea what he was going through, and you feel like a bit of a shit mate, actually. Excuse my language, but you sort of think, bloody hell. I was there. We could have had a chat. I'd have done anything to help, but he seems to have come through it now. He's leading a pretty cool life with his punditry and his new work, in psychology. So it's you normally get there in the end, and obviously the football was difficult for him to deal with it. I can't imagine having to retire at 24. I had to retire at 33 due to injury, and I was devastated. And I'd played 500 games or whatever. For Sads was going to be better than all of us. Every single one of us, and I include, no disrespect to Timmy and Reedy, all those guys who've gone on to really, really, high levels, but I think Sads was better than everybody. So for him to have to retire at that age, no wonder he went off the rails. But
we all have dark places in our careers, don't we, Paul? You went to Palace. You tried at West Ham. I mean, it must have been some awful times. That'd be good to read in your autobiography, that will.
Is it finished, Paul? Is the actual autobiography
the first draft is finished, the first draft. Look, I think, hopefully you guys will get the chance to read it, but I think you'll be surprised at what went on off the pitch. And behind the scenes, to be honest. It's not just... I didn't want to write a book that just went through my football career, because when I look at it, my football career was pretty average. There's much better players than me you might as well go and read about. So it's the other stuff, it's the other bits and pieces that was going on behind the scenes that I think you'll find quite interesting.
Fascinating.
Excellent.
Well, we'll look forward to that, yeah.
I'll send you over a copy when it's done.
Thanks, Paul.
That's 4 copies, Paul.
4 copies. I'll send two, and you can have a book club.
That's it. Yeah, why not?
As long as you sign one to Pat.
No worries.
Not too bad, but too bad.
What I want to know, Paul, before you went to New Zealand, the one thing about New Zealand, I've got friends out there as well. It's like Wales. They've got places you just can't pronounce. What is it with these kind? I mean, where is it you're in now? Where do you live?
I'm in Masterton in the Wairarapa.
Wairarapa, yeah. But it's do you have to get up and do the haka every morning? I think everyone in New Zealand has to do that, don't they?
They can. I'll tell you what, it's sensational to see that live. I absolutely. I hate rugby. Got no time for rugby at all. But I went to watch the All Blacks play just after I got here against France in the main stadium here, and the haka was unbelievable. I didn't watch any of the game afterwards, but the haka makes your hair stand on end. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And all the schools have got different hakas and stuff, and they can all the school kids do them, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I must admit, I always look at that and think to myself, if I was standing facing that, I'd be off, mate. I don't think I could go tackle any of them. But so what's the sort of life in New Zealand like for you then, Paul? It's obviously a lovely way of life. I know that through my mate, who actually was a footballer for New Zealand, played for New Zealand.
Okay.
Who's living out there, yeah. But he very similar to you. He went out there. He didn't quite make it over here. Went out there and had a real successful time out there and actually played for New Zealand. But he's told me before that the lifestyle's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so laid back. Everybody's friendly. When people ask me what it's like what I grew up in England. And when I grew up, you could leave your back door open and your mate would just pop in your kitchen, and all of a sudden you're just chatting away and it's normal, and then you're around his house the next day doing the same thing, and no one locked their doors, and you could go out and play anywhere. It's like that here now, and I can't imagine doing that in England. That's I suppose the difference. We're pretty lucky here, and just with all the stuff that's been going on lately, you realise how lucky I. With all the pandemic, you look at America, how you're having to deal with it in England. And we've done our lockdown, and we're out the other side, and things are back to normal here. So we're lucky that it's a well-run island, I suppose.
Yeah, have you got fans back yet then in the stadiums?
We have it's difficult. In our league, we're the only team from New Zealand. So what's happened is the Wellington Phoenix have actually moved to Australia for the start of the league because there's no international travel at the moment. So they've actually had to move. But in terms of our national league, yes, we've got fans. But I mean, our national league, the level of our national league would be like maybe the Ryman Premier League, I would suggest. So it's a little bit different, but you're still getting your 300, 400, 500 fans at the games at the moment.
Yeah.
Can't be bad. And you still follow Millwall from afar?
Yeah, of course. We just need to start turning the draws into wins. Blimey, we love a draw at the moment. We're lacking a striker. We've been lacking a striker for God knows how long. And I think with the team that he's got together, I think if we had one, I think we'd be definite for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I think it's a pretty open league this year. You just need a bit of consistency, but the draws are killing us, to be honest.
That's it. So one of the great traditions that we ask is to ask you about Millwall versus Derby County on Saturday. What do you reckon it'll be?
Oh, surely we can beat them. Blimey, you got Wayne Rooney in charge.
That's
Jeez.
Right. With their bottom.
If you can't beat them, you've got no right to be talking about making the playoffs. Really, I don't think you could ask for a better game at the moment. Rooney not playing as well, which makes a big difference as well. He's still a fantastic player. The fact that he's decided to take up coaching now, I think it's a little early. I don't think it's the right job for him at all just yet. I think he'll be a fantastic coach in the future, but being chucked in the deep end now, I don't think is right. So, look, I think it can really get us back on track if we manage to win this one and then hopefully go on a little run.
Prediction?
2-0.
Lovely. Lastly, will you come back and tell us about your book when it's due to be published, Paul? And maybe
yes, I will.
We'll get Jason Pine on too.
Yeah, he's a lovely fella. Yeah, no, actually, I'd love to come back. There was plans to come back this year, but obviously with what's gone on with a global pandemic has put paid to that. But I would certainly like to come back. I'd like to get back to a game, to be honest. It's been a long time, so I'd like to get back down the Den.
We'd love it to see you down the Den.
So that's 2 books now, and when you come back next time, bring another 2.
Bring the other 2.
Mind you, DHL are doing good packages at the moment, so it's time to send them. Paul, it's been lovely having you on.
No worries, thank you.
Really enjoyed listening to the stories and what you've had to say. Absolutely fantastic. And we look forward to you coming back again. Take care.
Worries. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We'll take a break there and listen to Kai Bennett and his A Millwall Fan TV.
Hey, I'm Kai from Millwall Fan TV. On Millwall Fan TV, I cover pre-match predictions, post-match analysis, and a bit of full-time reaction when we can go to the games. Also, quite a few X-Lines chats on my YouTube, actually, as we speak right now. I've got some Martin Wolford, Scott Barron, that just a couple to name a few. So do it for the love of Millwall. Absolutely love Millwall, and let's hope we can push on next year and make the playoffs. And if you could subscribe to Millwall Fan TV, that'd be absolutely amazing, and hopefully we can follow the journey together. Comedy Lines.
I'm Eamon, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Gary Staff and Ted Robinson. That was the Kaiser, as we call him these days, and that's a zippy little tune that he has. Next up, we hear from the first of our guests from the Millwall Community Trust. Dean Palmer featured in our Millwall Community Trust special. He previously worked at Millwall Football Club as a project coordinator with the Millwall for All project before moving over to the Trust in January. He has a wealth of coaching experience with more than 10 years working within schools and running holiday camps. He's a UEFA A licensed coach and also has a part-time role in the academy as youth development phase coach. I caught up with him earlier to hear about the College Academy 2020-21 for 16 to 18-year-olds. Let's listen to what Dean had to say. Dean, can you just tell us a little bit about what you sort of expect for those people that might be interested in joining the Academy?
Okay, so the Post-16 Academy is part of the Community Trust Scheme, and what we do on the Academy is we provide further education for year 12s and 13s, so that's a 16 to 18, but we do have a few older ones who are able to take on the course as well. Within that course, the young people get 6 hours of coaching as well as a games program. And within that games program, they play in the EFL league, and that league allows them to play against other trust teams, like, for example, Brentford, Charlton, and a few other the other trusts that participate in the league, as well as having a structured education program. Within the education program, it's a BTEC level 2 or a BTEC level 3. With the BTEC level 3, it's equivalent to 2 A levels. So.
And so to come and join in with that, what sort of background would you be looking for potential candidates?
An interest in football would be a good start, because we'll be training 6 hours, and that's intense training, either fitness or gym-based program. But also what we're looking for is someone who wants to further their education as well. Yeah. Because both sides of it work hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. You can't do the other without the other. Do you understand what I mean? So we don't want someone who just wants to do the football and doesn't want to do the education side of things. They have to be able to do both elements and be willing to do both elements as well.
That sounds like a good balance and a great opportunity for someone to come along and get involved. How can they get in touch to come along on the 12th to the Lions Centre?
So all they have to do really is just send me an email. So it's D, so the letter D Palmer, Palmer, at millwallcommunity.org.uk. And send me an email with their interest, and I'll sign them up to the trials on the 12th. Now, the trial on the 12th will be a combination of football as well as a mini game or a game at the end. But obviously, due to COVID, we have to sort of restrict the numbers. But as long as they get in touch with me, I can sign them up, definitely.
Well, that sounds like fantastic news, and as I said before, great opportunity for those that want to and can.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said already, the coaching is top of the range coaching in terms of they're getting an A licensed coach and a couple of B licensed coaches there as well. We really do push them as well. It's not just that you represent Millwall Community Trust. You have kit, you have the logo. You can represent the club in terms of playing in these games, but also we give you opportunities outside as well, like work opportunities, etc. So hopefully we can get as much young people as possible to join up to the course and develop themselves.
Well, we know with the energy that you've got that it will be an exciting experience for anyone that comes along. There's no doubt about that. So,
thank you.
You take care, you enjoy it, and thanks for coming on the show. Cheers.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Sounds like a great opportunity for young people in that age group. I think old George Lampy was there shuffling his papers in the background. But
we will be joining in his age.
Yeah, no, it's sadly not, but there you go. What do you think of what they're doing there, guys? Ted?
Well, I'm just sending an email to Dean now. I'm applying. I don't know whether I qualify age-wise and that, but in all honesty, I wish something like that was around when I was that sort of age, because, you know, if you've got a passion and a love for football, and then you can combine it into a college education like that, in a sense, what a fantastic idea. And, you know, I know, Dean, and what you're saying there, that it's not just going to be about the football, it is going to be an education as well. And listen, all fair play. The Community Trust never cease to amaze me. There's all these wonderful schemes that they come up with, and I've got to be honest, I think this is one of the best.
Yeah, ain't bad at all. Pat?
Well, I think Ted said it all there. I mean, he said exactly what I was thinking. It's a shame this wasn't about when, like, not so much me as a youngster, because it's only for boys, I understand. But, I mean, it's something for them to do if they have got that football interest. We know they've got the education there to run alongside it. But, I mean, wouldn't it be great if Millwall actually found one or two future stars in that lot?
Fantastic. Wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it just? But it is open to male and female participants as well, Pat. So you could have gone if it was about when you were about that age. Gary?
Listening to it, I think this is something, like Ted said, I wish I was around at my age when I was younger, but it's very much the American model, isn't it? It's very much a college system where people get scholarships, they have to do their university, the school work as well as playing in college football, etc. And I'm surprised it hasn't been done before or grown a lot more in this country because, like Pat said, there should be a few gems in there that we can pick off that don't necessarily think football would be their number one career, and then all of a sudden being in that right scenario, getting the right education, the right tutoring, the right football training, well, there might be a star of the future right there. Good luck.
Well, there's a lot of occasions that people were saying throughout their lives they just needed an opportunity, or there wasn't an opportunity or they wasn't given the opportunity. That there is a wonderful opportunity for a half-talented kid who's struggling to find somewhere to go. And it may well, as Pat was saying, into the focus of someone like Millwall with these games against other academies. And, it's an opportunity, a massive opportunity for some kids. And thankfully, Millwall's a community trust are giving them that chance.
What I can say to anyone that's listening, if you've got someone between 16 up to 18, I think it would just be fantastic. Absolutely. Dean and his oppos have got so much energy and passion. I can't see anyone not wanting to work with.
Wonderful coaches and wonderful tutors there, I'm sure.
If you want to get involved, don't forget, contact Dean by email, dpalmer, DPALMER, at millwallcommunity.org.uk. He'd love to hear from you. Next up, the Lionesses return to football on Sunday at East Bergholt United, which is just to the north of Colchester. They drew 1-1 with them earlier in the season at St Paul's, but many felt we should have overcome them. 3 points on Sunday will keep the Lionesses on top of the table unless the team in second place win by a huge margin. But for now, we hear from Millwall Lionesses assistant manager, Alex Russell, talking with his boss, the Lionesses boss, Katie Whitmore, on their return to football.
So Katie, a 4-week break. I bet you've been itching to get back.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to finally be back on that pitch with the girls, getting ready for the weekend.
Obviously, you've been limited to what you can do, but have you been doing anything with the squad throughout the lockdown period?
Yep, so we stayed in contact with each other. So the 2 nights that we'd usually have training, we had Zoom calls, which consisted of like team quizzes, getting to know our teammates, going over the season so far, and what is in place for when we were eventually able to return to the game.
We've got a new recruit in Andy Ferguson, come in and do some fitness and strengthening, conditioning, etc. It's his first night on the job, so to speak, tonight. How do you think he's getting on?
Yeah, definitely. He's come in and implemented quite a lot for us in the sense of the fitness and high intensity work rate. The girls have taken to it really well, bearing in mind it's the first training session back ready for Sunday's game. I think it's a great addition to the coaching staff that we've already got in place here. And look forward to working with Andy for the rest of the season.
Finally, we sit in a healthy position in the league table. We look away on Sunday. We've got our first fixture back. What's been the plan? What we're working on this week, and what's the mood in camp?
The mood's very good in camp. Everyone's great and buzzing to be back all together, making sure that we're all heading in the right direction, wanting the same thing in that promotion, and working hard to make sure we get it. The conversations have been, the same as what we've always said, that we're making sure that we're putting all that hard work in as a team, making sure that we get the result that we need to for the fans.
It sounds very positive from their outcome and a new recruit in. Pat, what do you reckon?
Oh, just hope the girls can continue where they left off 4 weeks ago. Sounds all positive. They've kept in touch. The fitness levels should be at the right level. Well, right place by now. Can only wish them the best. I mean, could say last season it didn't work out for them. They should be getting promotion this season, and it'd be nice to all get along and see them one game.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Ted?
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what, Eamon, I genuinely mean this. If there's a group of people that deserve a bit of success at the end of the season, it's these girls. Because what happened to them last year was nothing short of criminal in a sense. They've struggled their way through to get themselves going again, get themselves to the top of the league, and then all of a sudden it stops. And, you know, I just hope that this season pans out how I want it to for the Lionesses, and that is that they walk away with that championship at the end of the season. And I know one thing, if they don't, it won't be for the want of trying. They will be trying. And I for one, wish them all the best, and I really hope that they manage to get to the championship this year, which is what would be thoroughly deserved.
Gary?
I agree with Ted. I think they've worked really hard. They deserve to get promoted. But I still feel they should have been promoted out of last year because of the way they were playing. But that's what's happened. But the girls deserve that little bit of success, and onwards and upwards.
Well, everyone seems positive about it. I feel positive about it. I really do believe they'll get a result against East Bergholt. They weren't up to it quite as well as they should have been earlier in the season, but now I think there's the opportunity to move on. Let's hope for a good result. I mean,
and a double promotion.
A double promotion, would it?
Yeah, Millwall and the Lionesses. There you go.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be absolutely wonderful?
That'd be celebrated.
I think we could, if you would. I was thinking that we could have a no-luck day out at St Paul's one day.
I think we should.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, wouldn't it? Be a good idea. That. George will look after us down there. I heard he looked after Pat ever so well on those games where they were sitting in the executive lounge watching it in the TV. So he can have
that.
I won't. Okay. Say no more. Okay, we'll take a break there before we preview Saturday's fixture with our fan in the dugout, the Kaiser Bennett.
Hi, Bethany Warren here. Millwall Lionesses have partnered with international smartphone application Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is an application that truly benefits the poor of sight and the blind, but is supported by those of us that can see.
You might wonder how blind people deal with everyday challenges. Well, normally the answer is simple. We're not that different from you. We play music. We go to school. We go to work. You get the picture. But sometimes the simplest things can be difficult, and we need a pair of eyes.
Connect to first available number.
That's where you come in.
Establishing video connection.
Through your smartphone, Be My Eyes connects the blind with sighted people through a live video connection. Simply choose if you need help or want to help by the click of a button.
That's a nice picture of you and your family, Caroline. Is it for a present? Yes, it's a photo from my parents.
You can help just by installing the Be My Eyes app.
Print image.
And we'll notify you when someone needs your help. And if you're in the middle of something, don't worry. Someone else will step in. So, would you care to be my eyes?
Be My Eyes is displayed on the Lionesses shorts this season. Download the app onto your smartphone now and help those that need your eyes straight away.
I'm Eamon and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Gary Staff and Ted Robinson. That must be a fantastic advance for those who have poor or no sight. Our final guest, who features on his own YouTube channel, is a Millwall fan who previews and reviews our games throughout the season. He hails from Bromley and has broadcasting and journalistic ambition. We're pleased to welcome Kai Bennett to the virtual studio. Hi, Kai.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Delighted. Before we talk about Saturday's game against Derby, just a few questions from the team.
Hi Kai, Gary here.
Hello, Gary.
We were discussing it earlier, but what do you make of our results so far this season?
If you would have asked me probably a couple of weeks ago, I would have been pretty happy with them so far. But obviously, this winless run of 7 now, it's sort of just put a dampener on things. I put it down to injuries and stuff like that, but I think our sort of first 10 games were very positive. A nice, quite a few wins in there. I think it was 4 we haven't won since Preston, so it was about 4 wins in the first 10 games. So it was a really, really good start to the season. Last 5 games we've definitely dropped off the pace, but that could be down to injuries, as I said, and a few other things. But overall, you know, we're always a bit slow. We're always slow starters, so we're not in a bad place. I think we're in a better place than we were this time last year, so I can't complain too much.
Hello, Kai. Pat here.
Hello, Pat.
I think we've lost our way a bit this season. For example, basically the team is the same team as last year, who just missed the playoffs and were flying at one stage. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been disappointing few weeks or so. It's been a bit of a nightmare, really, hasn't it? But I think we've got to trust Gary Rowett, and we've got to trust that he's gonna turn the results around for us. I think, you know, some people are blaming their negative formation, and I do feel a little bit like that with the 5 at the back. But I think at the moment, the way he's setting up, I think he's setting up like that because he knows that if we concede, we're going to struggle to score 2 because of the players that we've got out. So I put that sort of that negative formation down to that, and it'll be interesting to see when them players come back, how he uses them and how he sets up. But I put the form sort of going down a little bit. I put it down to injuries, and I also put it down to this mad schedule and the fact that we have a very little squad.
Evening, guys. Ted here.
Hello, Ted.
All right, mate. Well, not too far away. We got the January sales are going to arrive, and I think actually we might go with Ken Zahor again and try and get him in January. Who knows, he's been injured, but who else do you think would be a good idea to bring on loan? Have you got any people in mind that you think would benefit the side?
Well, my family laugh when I say this all the time, but I'd love to see Malumbi come back to the Den. I just think we are missing his sort of hunger and sort of he's very hungry to get the ball, and you can see when he gets on the ball, he drives us forward. And even though he's not an attacking midfielder, I do think we are more of an aggressive team with him, and we hunt down the ball better. And him and Woods work pretty well together. They could both, you know, pass the ball. And I think with Leonard this year, as well as Leonard's done, I feel Leonard's done a pretty good job. I'd like to see Malumbi come back, and I'd also like to see us to bring in a central attacking midfielder, whoever that may be. But I'd like to see someone that can link the midfield to the strikers. And as you said, like to hopefully Kenny Sahor can carry on where he left off before he got injured. He could be a nice little signing as well.
Well, that's good for you all round there, Kai. In advance of previewing the Derby game, and we'd like you to join us for that, let's hear what our Henry Morgan and the fans from the opposition had to say today.
Good evening. Welcome to View from the Opposition. This evening we're speaking to Jason from the Rams Review podcast. Jason, good evening.
Good evening. How are we?
Well, not too bad. Unfortunately, we lost in the 91st minute away at Blackburn.
I must admit, I didn't see that it was a 91st minute. I did see that Scott Malone had scored for Millwall, though.
Good finish as well, actually. It was a good finish, yeah. But our first encounter actually was in 1903 when Derby was still Derby County Athletic, I believe.
Yes, they were.
In the FA Cup, we lost 3-0, actually, that day. It's currently poised at a draw, 22 games each we have won, with 14 draws, and currently Derby County 1-1 draw against Coventry. I think that was quite a late Coventry equaliser, if I'm correct, as well, on Tuesday. Yep. 1-1, lost 9, drawn 5. I've got 1 win in the last 15. Jason, currently the strongest team in the league, propping everyone else up. What way are you going, mate? What's happened? Are those the statistics fair of how Derby have got on this season, or is there a deeper story there somewhere?
We're certainly not looking like a top 6 promotion challenging side at all at the moment, unfortunately. And obviously, a lot of that is the fallout of obviously Philip Cocu leaving as the manager, having obviously at the minute nobody technically in charge other than Rooney as an interim, because we currently have a takeover impending that seems to just be going on and on.
That, yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you know, as I'm sure all the listeners would have to agree, you know, you can't expect stability on the pitch if it's not really happening off the pitch. And at the minute, Derby, it is not happening off the pitch at all.
So going into Saturday's match-up at the Den, who do Millwall need to be wary of in your team?
Player that you might remember from the fixture last season, just after lockdown, Lewis Sibley, who scored the hat-trick for Derby, of course. He has been out of the side all pretty much all of this season so far. Picked up a little injury in pre-season. He's not scored yet this season. Of course, you know, he's only 18, 19. That Millwall game was only his second professional game. So, I mean, I think he's only on about 15 professional starts at the moment. So, you know, plenty of time for him to fit into Derby's plan. We know that. But I would expect him to play on Saturday. Colin Kazam Richards, who's actually started the last 2 games up front and has been by far Derby's best player. He scored against Coventry. He had one ruled out for offside against Wickham on Saturday. Sorry, Coventry. So he's been very bright. He's been a focal point for Derby, something that Derby's missed out on since Chris Martin left at the end of last season, and we never really replaced, unfortunately. And I think that's a big part of why Derby have struggled so far this season. They've just not got a focal point. Unfortunately, we were playing Martin Waghorn up there, but he's just not quite hit the same levels this season so far. He did that again, another one who had an injury pre-season. And he's struggling to find his feet a little bit this season, which is a big shame for Derby, because he is a big focal point for Derby and he is a goal-getter for Derby. Kamil Jóźwiak, Polish left winger who we brought in from Lech Poznan in the summer. Tricky winger, very direct, very pacey. Unfortunately, sometimes his end product's a little bit lacking. He gets into some nice areas and you think, you know, you're going to score here and he'll blaze it over the bar and things like that. He's yet to score for Derby this season. Him, Sibley and Kazim Richards is probably a front 3 unless Tom Lawrence is selected. But unfortunately, that guy is he's not in any form at the moment, but he keeps getting picked.
Is there anyone that Derby County would have on their radar from the Millwall side that they might be particularly either worried about or sort of, you know, thinking, well, you know, whenever we come up against him, he always seems to score or do something.
I mean, me personally, Jed Wallace, obviously, as I'm sure you was probably expecting, I was going to say, that man scores against Derby nearly every time we play.
That one.
Is it Jake Cooper at the back?
We do, although he didn't play for the first time in 100-odd games because he dislocated his shoulder.
He's obviously not going to be necessarily an attacking threat as such, but you know, that kind of a player, like you say, 100 and whatever games it is, you know, not missed. That's a feat in the Championship. When you think about it. So, you know, a solid player like that. Then the rest of the squad's practically made up of ex-Derby players anyway. So
indeed.
To be honest. So,
Jason, if I had to push you for a scoreline this weekend, I mean, all of the stuff that I've read from sort of, you know, the sort of Derby website and the local newspapers seem to be saying that you're trending in the right direction, and perhaps meeting a Millwall team who haven't won in 6 games might be quite a good time for you to play us. What do you think if you had to predict a score?
Quite a few of those have been draws, haven't they? So it's not as if you've been getting beat.
They have. So,
you know,
on the spin and then lost.
That's what I thought it was. So, yeah, it's. I believe it's the first game where Millwall are obviously going to have some fans back in the stadium, which
that's right, 2,000.
Is going to make a difference. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not obviously the same atmosphere that you would normally get from the Den, but still 2,000 fans is 2,000 fans. And to be fair, on our podcast, I actually predicted Millwall to win 3-1 because
Blimey.
It could be 3-1, something like that. I do think Derby will score. We've kind of got on a bit of a ball roll at the minute.
Okay.
And
yeah.
as I say, Kazim Richards has made a massive difference to Derby in the last 2.5 games that he's played. So I would expect Derby to score, but I can see Millwall winning it.
Well, I mean, I think some of our listeners will be delighted to hear that we might get 3 goals. I think, there's obviously a massive... This is Millwall playing a team who have this season struggled a bit in the bottom of the league, and they're coming to the Den. And I think on a normal Saturday I'll be walking up there thinking this has got 1-0 Derby written all over it. But I'm hoping for a 2-1 victory, something like that, and maybe see Troy Parrott get his first goal for us. We shall see. It's been wonderful to have you on. Thank you very much. Look forward to chatting again soon.
Not a problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, that was lovely not to hear Henry predict some ridiculous score for us, but he must have a fearsome reputation with fans coming in pairs to talk with him now, and then one of them actually backed out. So it's just Jason that turned up. What are our thoughts in the light of what you've heard, and is there anything else to consider? Kai?
I thought the Derby podcast, the guy from the Derby Club podcast, I thought he was very optimistic to sort of say Mill were going to score 3 goals, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Troy Parrott get his first goal, as Henry said. It's going to be a really tough game, especially if Cooper's not available again. But I think we've got enough at the back. Obviously, Malone can't play against Derby, but I'm pretty sure Murray Wallace will be fine to play there instead. And it's just whether you keep Woods in the lineup or whether you drop him after his mistake the other day. And then I'd like to see a front two of Smith and Parrott and see how that gets on. But with the fans coming back, that'll definitely help. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Pat?
He sounded very fair, I think, the Derby County guy. On paper, we should really be walking this. And I hope if we are 3-1 up near the end, we've got some youngsters on the bench he could give some minutes to, because I think we've got some decent boys there and we need to be looking at them more. I mean, like other clubs, Blackburn, for instance, they had a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old out there. Brown is 23 now. If he's not good enough for the first team, why are we holding on to him? I think we need to see these youngsters get some minutes and then we can get a few on them ourselves.
Gary?
I would have said as well, I think his name was Jason from the Derby podcast. So very, very honest. He spoke from the heart there, didn't he? His team's not in the best of places at the moment, out off the pitch. So fingers crossed for them, but obviously not on Saturday. I think Pat summed it up quite well. Yes, I'd like to see 1 or 2 youngsters. I didn't actually realise Brown was that old. But I think we're going to win on Saturday. We've got to win. I think having the fans back will be a massive boost for those players. I do feel 12th man for us is that crowd at home. And I heard a stat, I don't know if it was true, Corona in between it, but we hadn't been beaten away from home in a whole year. Was that right? I heard something like that by Carl. Just got to get that home form back in.
That'd be good. Ted?
The one thing that, was it James there, fella, said that worried me a little bit? Jason. He spoke about Louis Sibley hasn't scored a goal this year. And this is a young lad who scored an hat-trick against us last time and looked an excellent player. Well, you feel it, Pat, didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't agree with what you said, Pat, about on paper we should walk this side. The Derby, for whatever reason this year, it's just all gone wrong. It doesn't mean that they're a bad side, but there's things at that club that are going wrong that are causing them to be as bad as they are at this moment in time. But I've seen the last couple of games of them, or this Kazim Richards is a decent player and he has caused problems. They should have beaten Coventry the other night. They missed an absolute sitter just before Coventry equalised. And I mean a sitter, the bloke blasted it over the bar. And they looked a bit more like the Derby of last year. But listen, I'm always confident about Millwall, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be confident this week, apart from what I've just said. But it all depends on how we line up, I think. I'd like to see maybe like Gary said, Smith and Parrott down the middle. That might be something, because I think what I've seen of Troy Parrott, he needs somebody else there with him to take the physicality part of it away from him at the moment. He's finding his feet. I think it was you, Gary, that said about Malone not being able to play. Well, I mean, if Jake Cooper's not fit, then we're left with Pearce, Hutchinson, and Murray Wallace will have to go left back. That could expose us a bit down the middle. But listen, I'm confident that we're going to win.
Well, that sounds reasonable. Sounds reasonable altogether. But now let's have your predictions. Kai, what do you reckon the score's going to be?
I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we're going to nick it. I'm going to nick it 2-1, and I'm going to go with Smith and Parrott to get the goals.
Hey, put your money where your mouth is. And how about you, Pat?
I think we're going to do this 2-0. Probably Jacob Brace. I'll give that to him.
OK, then. And how about you, Gary?
I'm going to say the same as Pat. I'm going to agree with Pat. And, who are scorers? Smith and Parrott again.
Hey, it's a big... I'll get the money on those two, then. Sounds about right. How about you, Ted?
Well, I'm going to go with Kai. I think it'll be 2-1, only because I've heard that Louis Sibley ain't scored this year, so he's going to score. that is a definite. And it will be 2 goals, one from Ryan Woods, who's going to make up for the other night, and the other one might just come from Marlon Romeo. It's about time he scored.
I'd love him to score.
Wouldn't that be
It's about time he scored, yeah.
Hey, so we're all banking on a win then?
Yeah, and maybe Bob Carson comes off the bench and makes it 3-1. Who knows?
Behave. Right. Now.
And Bridger off the bench 4-1. There you go.
Wake up,
at least we feel positive. That's the good thing about it.
Always.
Let's be hopeful. Don't forget, you can hear Henry reviewing the match on Sunday with the Rams fans, and this time apparently Corey Hancock and Jason will join him. Links will be available on our social media sites. Wonderful Derbyshire names, Ted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they sound like it, yeah.
Northern, that's what it's all about.
So they call all their Rams up there.
Yeah, one way or the other. Well, thanks, Kai, for coming on the show once again. Or should I say Kai Zer, as we now call you on the boards. You've joined us this evening and you've given us the best as usual. And we hope that your YouTube channel does exceedingly well. And until the next time, my friend, good night. Take care, Kai.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, we'll take a break there and listen to the helpful tones of Patricia Maslin.
Hi, Patricia Maslin here. The Millwall Community Trust needs volunteer help. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the current conditions to support the vulnerable and needy. If you can help make a difference or need help, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer, by phone on 07 958 027060. Once again, that's 07 958 027060. Or contact by email sdaly, I'll spell that, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. If you can, or you know someone or any organisation who might be able to help, please let the Community Trust know. Thank you.
I'm Eamon and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Gary Staff and Ted Robinson. People continue to lose their lives to this dreadful virus or a consequence of suffering with it, as deaths and infections continue, whilst many more remain hospitalised too. Our thoughts go out to their families, friends and those that take care of them.
There are so many fans who want to support the club, and you can help by joining the Lions Loyalty Club. It costs £40 with benefits. For £25, you or a member of your family can also be a crowdie. For £103.95, you can be a virtual mascot with benefits. And why not sponsor a player's kit for £570? That comes with benefits also. All the details and more can be found on the Millwall website. Lastly, don't forget iFollow returns with Cole Bates on Saturday v Derby. If you are not lucky enough to join the 2,000 attending, 100% of what you pay, less taxes, for the internet streaming service, home or away, goes back to Millwall Football Club. What a good way to improve their revenue in these challenging times. And don't forget, watch out for updates on the Millwall website and your email for the return to the stadium information for the fans. It's good night from me.
Scott Johnson, the founder of the Proper Blokes Club, is looking for guys to come along and join him to break the stigma of men's mental health with walk and talk groups. Being in Tier 2 means that the walks are now back again. Additionally, Scott is organising a shoebox collection for the homeless of Southwark, so give a little that will mean a lot to someone. For further details of Walking and Talking and the shoebox collection, check out the Proper Blokes Club on Twitter and Facebook. And it's good night from Ted.
Next week, we welcome back Stan, Bethany and Jeff, all to be hosted by myself. Don't forget, player sponsorship Lionesses is available this season. Why not share the burden between a few of you or a couple of companies? If you can give them some added support, you can find the details on their website. Just put Millwall Lionesses into your browser and you will find them easy enough through there. We have led by example and sponsored their captain, Libby Stubbs. For now, that's good night from me.
Penultimately, we have the draw for The Lion's King, the book about Brian King. And the winners are Jeff Marshall from Greenwich and Kevin Evans from Sudbury. Congratulations. We'll be in touch shortly. Lastly, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Follow the 3-tier guidance, social distancing when outside, and a face mask where necessary. That's it from me. Thanks, Ted, Gary and Patricia. Until the next time, good night.
Good night from me.
And good night from me.
Good night.